If you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help somebody. A pleasant evening to all our viewers. I'm highly delighted to welcome you all to yet another episode of Talking Insights. My name is Mallika and I'm an educator in Shamrock School, Mohali. This is a platform where our young and enthusiastic panelists raise their queries and are content by the end of the session. Well, the topic of today's session is the unselfish effort to bring cheer to others is the beginning of a happier life for ourselves. So, to enlighten this, we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Vineet Marwaha. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Mallika, and a pleasure being here.
Mr. Marwaha has been working in the social development sector for almost 20 years. As a social development professional, he has been involved with issues like education and healthcare for underprivileged children, tobacco control and cancer awareness, etc. He has worked extensively with adolescent students on tobacco awareness and cessation in the northern states. He conducts sensitization workshops with students not only to help develop empathy for the less fortunate, but also to understand their own privileges better and appreciate their blessings. He had spoken on civil society issues in several government and industry forums, lobbying for reforms and encouraging corporate social responsibilities. He has been instrumental in setting up many innovative and socially useful projects in the region. Presently, he is working with Smile Foundation as an assistant director and holds the responsibility of resource development. Now, I would like to invite our panelists to introduce themselves. Let's start with Aseespreet.
Good evening, everyone. I am Aseespreet Kaur of grade 5 from Shamrock School. I'm very pleased to be a part of Talking Insights. For many days, I was thinking, how can I help others? How can I start with a happier life? And how does helping others matters our life? I hope I'll get all my answers in today's conversation. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I am Guntaas Kaur, a student of class 5th in Shamrock School, Mohali. Being an active listener, it is my pleasure to be a part of this event, which I am sure will be really helpful and inspiring. Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am, and to one and all who are watching us live. I am Milan Singh of Class 5S at Shamrock School. I am very pleased to be a part of this event Talking Insights, which picked up a very sensitive topic of our society. Moreover, I would like to thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Good evening to one and all. I am Saanvi Chauhan, a student of class 5th. I am honored to be a panelist of this great event. I have heard a lot about Smile Foundation. Now it's my privilege that I have got chance to interact with you all through this live show. I am sure it will be a wonderful interactive session.
Thank you, children, for the lovely introduction. Now, sir, I would like you to share your journey with us and how you got inspired.
It was wonderful to hear these children speak, and it is my honor and a privilege that I have an opportunity to interact today with a very young crowd, and I hope it will be meaningful for them and fulfilling for them as well. Well, about my journey, well, there isn't too much to speak about. Really, you've spoken quite a bit, and I'm very grateful for that. A brief stint with social work, if I may call it. I had a little bit of it during my college days. Um, actively, with a group of friends, we would organize blood donation drives, eye donation campaigns. We would also venture out to provide some educational support for underprivileged in a few slums in the city where I lived then. This went on for a couple of years. Uh, However, at that time, I did not really consider it as my calling, and inevitably, I dropped out of it and moved on to a regular job into the corporate sector before finally coming back to the social development sector. So now I have been involved with the social development sector for almost 20 years, um, working on various themes. Uh, a number of years I spent working on the cause of cancer, followed by the cause of the underprivileged children. It's very dear to my heart as well. So there we are. And you never know when you get a calling. But yes, you need to have an empathetic mind. You need to be socially sensitive before you can get into any of these fields. So there you are, Mallika.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your journey. Let's start with the queries of our panelists. Aseespreet, would you like to ask your question?
Sir, what are the problems faced by the underprivileged children?
Okay, as I answer this, I'd like you to also give a thought and a little comparison to the life that you are leading, or all the children in this panel, or your friends who are there on the session as audience are leading. I would ask them also. The major issue that millions of children in India face is nutrition, right? Which is a very basic, very elementary need for survival of any human being or any living being. Have you ever had to worry about your nutrition, for example? I don't think so, right? Other than nutrition, healthcare continues to be a major challenge for, again, millions of children in India. Education, which we treat as the bedrock of, creating better future lives, is missing, very sadly missing, again, for this segment of people. Millions of children face child abuse and have to work as child labor in our country even today. These are some of the issues that we as a conscientious nation really need to worry about. We are talking about not a few hundred or thousand or even lakhs. We're talking about millions and millions of our future citizens. And these future citizens who are growing up, unattended in terms of education, in terms of skill development, in terms of nutrition, stunted growth, and all that. And they are our future citizens. I hope you recognize that. Just like you must be around 10 years or 11 years of age. And just as you have another 80 years or 100 years to live, so do they. And imagine leading such a life ahead without empowerment, without skills, without education. It is a very vicious cycle. And we need to recognize this. I'm glad that you asked this question. I hope that you become more aware within your own surroundings as you move about in your colonies or in your societies. The next time you see these children, I hope a thought and a prayer comes to your heart as well.
Thank you, sir. In fact, these hardships end up robbing the children of the opportunities to grow into a successful and independent adult. Let's
Absolutely,
take up.
Mallika, and it absolutely completely eradicates the joys of childhood. We all must recognize that childhood is one of the most pleasant um, parts of our lives. No matter how old we grow, we always turn back to the memories of childhood. And these millions of children, somehow are missing out in a large measure of the joys of this very basic element of life.
Yes, very true. Let's take up the next question from Guntaas.
Sir, how does helping others makes us happy?
Okay, Guntas, how old are you?
Sir,
Yes,
9 years old.
Guntas.
Sir,
Okay, you are 9. Right.
yes, sir.
So the question that you ask is actually far beyond. I would have imagined a child of your age to be asking me this, because this is such a huge thing to understand. So if you do not mind, I'll take a little time to delve a little deeper into this subject. Um, how does helping
Yes.
others make you happy, and whether it does at all have the potential to make you happy. So we'll take a little time here, if that's okay with you, Mallika. Uh, See, when you help others, it would be, I presume, correct to also assume that you're solving some of their problem, whatever it is, whatever problem they're facing. When we say that we are trying to help others, we are essentially trying to solve one of their problems, which in turn gives them some cheer, something to cheer about, some joy in their life. When you solve their problems, it creates some joy in their life. So you're spreading happiness a little bit, right? Now, you know, if I were to ask you, what is that one thing that makes you happy? Would you like to answer that, Guntas? What is that one thing
Yes.
that that if you got now today would make you happy?
Uh,
Anybody on the panel? I'm sure
sir,
there are other children here who could also think of something to speak here. Yes.
Yes, Aseespreet, what makes you happy?
The thing that makes me happy is going out with my parents and enjoying.
Okay. So if your parents were to take you out today for an outing, it would make you happy. Anybody else would like to volunteer?
Yes,
Yes,
Milan.
please.
Sir, the thing that makes me happy is giving the food to beggars and helping them.
Okay. Right. Now, okay. Yes, Guntas, you want to say something? Unmute yourself, please.
sir, spending time with my family.
Spending time with your family makes you happy. So we already have, in a small panel, we have three different opinions. Okay. Yeah. Saanvi.
Playing with my brother.
Okay. Playing with your brother makes you happy. Now, let's delve a little deeper. Okay, this is about you. Let me ask you, what would make your brother or your sister happy if they got something? I mean, what would they like to have that you think if they got it, it would make them very happy?
Aseespreet, you like to answer the question?
Yes, sir. My brother gets happy when he gets so many chocolates or something to eat.
Okay. Okay, so he likes to. He's fond of chocolates and some other stuff. Okay, nice. Anybody else? Yeah, Sanvi.
His favorite toy.
Okay, so he'd like to have a toy. Fine. Now, you know, okay, yeah, Guntas.
Sir, that my brother gets board games.
Okay, so we can put it as a toy. So right. Uh, Now think about someone else, right? What is that one thing which, if your parents got today, or your, let's say, if your mother got today, it would make her happy? हाँ बताइए गुंतास.
Sir, that I do study.
Okay. So when you study, it makes her happy. Just hold on for a minute, Sanvi. I want to elaborate, take this a little deeper with Guntas. So if you study, you would do well, right?
Yes, sir.
And perhaps you would get good marks. Perhaps your teachers would appreciate you, right? And
Yes,
perhaps, but that is about you. You will do well. Your teachers, all the appreciation comes to you. Why does it make your mother happy? Why do you think it makes your mother happy? I'm sure she would be very proud, she'd be very happy. But why does it make her happy when you are at the center of it? I mean, the study is about you. You would do better in life, or maybe, yeah, all the appreciation would come to you. But why do your studies, or when you do well in your studies, why do your parents feel happy? It's not about them, no? They aren't getting anything, or are they? This is what we are trying to understand here.
sir,
Or
because she
anybody else on
loves
the
us
panel
a
also
lot.
can think of, what Guntas is trying to say, and see if you can express yourself. Yes, please.
Sir, because she loves us a lot.
Okay, yes, that is a very important aspect of, why she would be happy. She loves you a lot, and anything that has the potential to make you happy makes her happy as well, right? When you do better, it makes you happy, है ना? आपको अगर फुल मार्क्स आते हैं किसी सब्जेक्ट में, तो सबसे ज्यादा खुशी आपको होती है ना? और आपकी खुशी में आपके पेरेंट्स की भी खुशी है, right? Do you understand this? That because she loves you, and when you do well, she sees you as a happy, and she sees your future as being happier when you study, rather than when if you do not study and you perform poorly, or if you do not, I mean, she could have ideas that maybe she'll not do well in life, and therefore Guntas will be sad in life later. It'll make her sad. But when she sees you studying, when she sees you getting good marks, she assumes that you will do well in life, that you will grow up into a better, more successful, and a happier person. And in turn, it makes her happy. So what does this tell us? We are conditioned as human beings to create an environment around us in which happiness prevails. You know, have you ever seen a small child, maybe a 1-year-old child or a 6-month-old baby, a very small one? Yeah. Okay. What
Yes, yes.
happens when you tickle the child? What happens? Yeah,
So he gets happy.
he gets happy. He laughs. He laughs. In turn, how do you feel about it? When he laughs, what does that make you feel?
Yes, Aseespreet.
So we feel good.
You feel good. Yes, very important. That is what the potential of spreading happiness is. As a result of something that you did, the little child laughed. The little child has no clue who you are, what you're doing to it. Sorry, I mean, whether it is good for it or bad for it, nothing at all. He just responds to your act and the environment, and he laughs. And the joy that is created in that one moment makes you feel you didn't give you anything. You did not give the child anything in terms of material, transaction. But still, a little act created that environment of happiness for the child, for you, both. We are, therefore, mark my words, we are conditioned to create an environment of happiness around us. We rejoice in a happy environment, whether we are the cause of it or not. Whether the other person's, in a social setting, these are festive times now. Even though these are pandemic times, so most of us may not be traveling around for Dashera and Durga Puja stalls and all that. But if you can recall from your memories, everybody there sounds joyful, cheerful. There's music, there is people have dressed up nicely, people are just generally happy, you know. And therefore, we also want to go to such places to experience that spread of joy and that spread of happiness. So, what I'm trying to come to is it is inherent in ourselves that when we spread happiness, we get happiness back in return, right? That example of that little child, you know, when your mother gets happy, when she sees full marks on your notebook, it gives her joy. When she smiles, it makes you feel good too, doesn't it? Yes, right. So in turn, happiness breeds happiness. We want to be happy more than we want to be rich. We want to be happy. This is something I'd like you to understand today. Yes, prosperity contributes to our happiness, but prosperity alone is pretty much useless. You know, it is happiness that creates this environment of a more fulfilling, enriching life. Of course, when and more so when you are the cause of happiness. हम generally happy environment में rejoice करते हैं, right? But when you are the cause of that happiness, the the feeling that you get is exponentially higher. When as a result of what you do, you made a few people happier, you made their lives perhaps easier, or you've given them reason for joy or spread joy in their lives, it makes you so much feel, you makes you feel so much good. That glow in your heart, is something to be cherished. And I hope that at this very young age, if you could, by the grace of God and by blessings of your parents, if you could begin to experience this aspect of what I'm trying to enumerate here. This is something very big to understand. You're very, very young. But I do hope and pray that in your lives you reach that level where you truly understand from the depths of your heart how this whole thing works. I'm very glad that you asked this question. This is such an important thing for all of us to understand. Right? I'm sorry I took a little longer, but I hope that you fathomed something out of this long monologue that I just ventured into.
I completely concur with you, sir. Milan, are you curious to ask your query?
Yes, ma'am. Sir, could you please tell us the different ways to help others at our age?
Yeah, you know, so you all are 9 years, maybe 10 years, or so you're very young, right? So what can you do? How can you help others, right? That is what you want to know, right? How
Yes,
about
sir.
beginning with learning to respect others? Very basic, very fundamental thing, which does, I mean, people of all ages can do and should do. Right? Even if you're very young, maybe you may not feel yourself empowered enough to help materially or in bigger ways, but you can start this journey by learning to respect others. When you are with your, let's say, with your helpers at home, maybe you have a house help who comes to your home every day. How do you speak to her? How do you look at her or him, whatever? Maybe your gardeners. When you go to a food stall, when you go to a mall, a restaurant, there's a waiter serving you, or at a party where there's a waiter serving you. How do you talk to these people? What tone do you carry? What attitude do you carry? Is it respectful? Is it courteous? How about beginning with this very basic element even from now on? It makes you a better human being. And in turn, the vibes that come from the other person back to you when you deal with people respectfully is something that you will gradually begin to understand as you grow in your life, and how those vibes actually um, reverberate within you and creating a more meaningful life for yourself. Right? Can we do this irrespective of? So what I'm trying to say is, let's not start let's not base our actions uh, of treating others based on economic status or religion or caste or creed or what kind of work they are doing. Everybody is important. So let us not judge people and dish out our respect accordingly. No, that doesn't it isn't helpful at all. So learn to become a respectful person. And then again, what else can you do? Maybe in your society, in the compound where you live, or in the locality where there are underprivileged children, for example, there, can you can we play with them? Can we include them in our teams? हम सब लोग जब छोटे होते हैं, बच्चे होते हैं, आप लोग भी अपनी टीम्स बनाते होंगे, कोई गेम्स खेलते होंगे, टीम्स बना के क्या हम उनको अपनी टीम में शामिल कर सकते हैं? Can we help them become a part of your group so that they can play with you, and maybe you can play with them at least? And then, yes, of course, if you have something to share with them, please do so. Right? They'll appreciate it. But most important is being respectful. So you have to be respectful before you begin to help. Right? That is a later stage. Being respectful is something that I'd like certainly for you to begin with and imbibe this lesson for life.
Thank you,
And
Sasi.
do you know, Milan, the small gestures and random acts of kindness really make a difference. Let's take up the next question from Saanvi.
Sir, as most of people have selfish approach, so I wonder how can we keep the attitude of helping others?
Okay, you know, if you want good, then the best person to listen to is your own heart. Okay, if you have this desire to do something good, listen to your heart. It is your beacon of light, right? Before you start paying attention to anybody else. And whatever little or more can be done within your own means is a great place to start from. Do not worry about, we are not going to change the world in one go, right? But many times what happens is that because we cannot do something great or big, we fail to do what we can actually do. This is a little small thing that we can do today, a little small thing that we can do that could perhaps bring cheer to somebody today. Why forego that? Because you're thinking about a lot of other people, because you perhaps ask somebody else also to join you, and together you want to help. Maybe they'll join you, maybe they'll not. But whatever your small means, whatever is possible to do from there on, is a wonderful place to begin with. And believe me, there are always good people around the corner who are waiting for somebody else to take the lead. बहुत अच्छे लोग हैं दुनिया में. The world is not full of wicked people. Trust me. The world has more good people than wicked people. So as you begin, you will also find people joining you and supporting you. So do what you can. Listen to your heart.
In fact, the growing deluge of research shows that helping and giving can make you feel connected, grow in new ways, and even live longer.
Yeah, certainly.
Aseespreet, would you like to ask your next question?
So, what are the challenges that are faced by the migrant workers and their children?
You're specifically about the present situation or in general? What do you want to know? I mean, the pandemic situation
So,
or
in this
in general, would you like to?
in this pandemic.
Many ways, nobody could have foreseen the magnitude and the scale of and the duration, sorry, the magnitude and the duration uh, of the topsy turvy situation that we are in today. So migrant workers and their children, they are amongst the most vulnerable section of our society. People who have savings, people who have a reserve to fall back on are probably better equipped to handle situations like these. But unfortunately, the migrant workers or daily wagers, people who live from hand to mouth, who depend, families who depend on their bread earner to go in the morning, work through the day, and come back with a supply of ration or things to eat in the evening, they have been the worst hit, of course. So, yes, hunger has been faced by millions of these marginalized people. Healthcare issues. Uh, the lockdown impacted the services of normal routine OPD services of the government sector and of the private sector as well. And even now, we still do not see the full operations beginning in the government sector or in the private sector either. So healthcare has taken a hit for these people. Education, the means of education have been robbed from millions, perhaps crores of children in India, those who do not have access to, or those who do not study in schools like yours, where your digital classes and your online method of instruction, means of instructions began almost within weeks of the lockdown. But unfortunately, this is not the case with the millions of others. Loss of livelihood, of course, is a huge. Then again, mental trauma caused by a sense of insecurity. It's very, very important to understand that as well. Suddenness with which this happened caused a sense of insecurity amongst the marginalized. And in that panic, all started to walk back. Exodus from the cities back to the villages began on foot, on whatever means that they could find. That was triggered by a tremendous sense of insecurity as well. For children, other than education, insecurity, of course, they also faced uncertainties, and they lost their playmates. When there is an uprootment happening every day, you all have your social circle, when you all know who to talk to and who to play with every day. Those children lost that as well. I mean, their friends as well. Their friends migrated to other places, they had to migrate to other places. And so all these things happened as a direct result of this pandemic.
Thus, COVID-19 has a greater effect on the emotional adjustment of children from these migrating communities. Let's take up the next
Absolutely.
question from Guntaas.
Sir, what is the purpose of CSR?
Okay, CSR stands for Corporate Social Responsibility. This is a way in which, by which the corporates or the large industrial units and houses, business houses, have started to give back to the society. You know, social responsibility. You understand? Like we all have our own areas of responsibility. You have the responsibility of studying. You have the responsibility of, helping your parents at home with whatever, you are called upon to do. You have the responsibility of doing your homework. Similarly, everyone has their responsibility areas marked out. So corporates have gradually, over the past few decades, begun to understand that all their profits and their entire business, come from the community in which they work and the nature around them, the environment in which they operate. The entire businesses are structured, are these are the foundations of any business. Their stakeholders, their communities, their employees, the cities or the areas, localities in which they have their businesses. So they have begun to feel a sense of responsibility towards the environment and the community and their stakeholders. So a part of the profit that these companies make, they are channeling back into some good work that directly benefits the environment or the community or the city, the locality in which they are operating, or the country in which they are operating. Maybe there's a company that would be investing a part of its profit in creating rainwater harvesting facilities, right? Where rainwater is harvested so that the ground level water is sustainable. Maybe there's a company that works on or supports initiatives for underprivileged children. For example, at Smile, we are supported by a number of corporates that make it possible for us to do the work that we're doing. Maybe there's a company that operates ambulance services in your area, or it operates a charitable laboratory in your area. All the charitable work that happens because somebody supports it. And in a large measure, these companies also are coming forward to support it. That is what is corporate social responsibility.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the information. Let's take up the next question from Milan.
Sir, why sometimes helping others leads to sorrow though we are aiming to please them?
Okay, so what we're talking about is the frustration that sometimes a person undergoes when you have somebody else's good at heart, but the person in front of you who you are trying to help reciprocates negatively. Is that right? Is that what you're trying to ask? Okay, fine. In the act of helping somebody else, one of the most basic elements is to understand the need of the person who you are trying to help, with a complete appreciation of the situation that that person is in. Okay, so it's not just about understanding the need. The need also has to be understood in the perspective, in the broader perspective of the person's situation, right? Let me give an example. So I am asking you to study, right? Am I doing good? Tell me. If I ask you to study, am I doing good? Switch
Yes,
on your
sir.
mic. Okay, great. Now, but you want to play. So if I am trying to do good to you, if you want to play, does it make you happy? Does it make you sad?
Yes,
The
Milan.
playing, the playing makes me happy, and study too makes me happy. But in that case, it will
Okay.
make me sad.
Yes. So thanks for a very honest reply. I was that yes. So it is very natural, right? It is very natural. This is exactly what I'm trying to understand here. That when you're trying to help somebody, maybe it will do him good. It's like a bitter pill. There's a little baby, उसको बुखार चढ़ गया और उसकी मम्मा ने उसको दवाई पिलानी है. अब दवाई कड़वी है, उसको अच्छी नहीं लगती. तो वो चिल्लाता है, पुश करता है, बचने की कोशिश करता है, राइट? लेकिन मम्मा फिर भी उसको पिलाएगी और पिला के ही छोड़ेगी। और अब बच्चे को थोड़ी देर के लिए हो सकता है कि अच्छा ना लगे, बट व्हाई where do these conflicts come from? It is basically, see, like I was giving you this example of studying. Now let's say if I were, where did my understanding go wrong? My understanding went wrong because I focused on my aspect or my understanding of what needs to happen now without relating to your mental frame of mind, maybe, right? So maybe if I told you, okay, you have half an hour to play, and then I need you to come back, and we have to solve these sums together. Would that balance the situation a little bit?
Sir, yes also and no also.
Okay. Why yes and why no?
Sir, yes, for that my mother will be happy if I will come back home and I will study and solve problems with her. But in that case, I will be sad because she's calling me back home and not letting me
So,
play.
okay. But she's given you time to play also, right? Okay. Or do you mean to say that all play and no work?
Like that only, sir.
Okay. So I think I'll have to work a little harder here. See, what happens, child, is that it is okay to focus on our immediate needs. So somewhere, what happens when we try, so that in that case, your mother will understand that Milan needs not to be told only with love. He'll also have to be pulled and made to sit down. And then gradually, he'll get his frustration out. Once he gets his frustration out, he'll settle down. Right? And I'm sure all the kids here have experienced that in ample measure. Have you? ठीक हो जाता है जब जब
Yes,
जब
sir.
एक बार थोड़ी देर के लिए वो होता है, एक क्लैश चलता है, फिर आपको जब बिठा दिया जाता है, थोड़ी देर में आप सेटल हो जाते हैं, एंड देन यू मूव ऑन, राइट? सो दैट इज बिकॉज योर मदर understands you. She knows that, I mean, nothing tragic is going to happen if she pulls you in and makes you sit down. She knows that within an hour or so you'll be okay, and life will move on. So in the world of social sector also, when we try and help others, it is this understanding of how to help, how to engage with the person in front of you, and what his challenges are, what his issues are, and can we do something to address those issues, whether through counseling, whether through motivation and creating that pull factor, or whether through some inducement, okay, or whether through enforcing discipline. All of these factors have to be used, right? And so that is how you are actually able to help somebody. So counseling plays a very, very important role in making a person understand his or her responsibility or his or her good. Many times, let's say there's a drug addict. You are trying to talk him out of drugs, and he doesn't listen to you, and the responses that he gives you make you feel bad. He might be abusive, he might be physically violent with you, and in all the environment is very vicious. So thereon comes the role of the counselors. So maybe he needs some counseling, maybe he needs some family support, maybe he needs some medication to help him overcome his challenges. Maybe he needs to be restrained. Maybe for a while he needs to be locked down in a room. That is also done. So basically, when people begin to understand the need with an appreciation of what the other person's situation is, And therefore, when you begin to devise your methods with under that appreciation, you begin to actually, your help actually begins to be more relevant and more meaningful, right? Understanding the other person's situation and needs is known as empathy. You know, through that appreciation of the situation of the other person is called empathy, and that is one of the basic fundamentals to understand before you begin to actually deliver help.
I hope you got your answer, Milan. Sanvi, would you like to ask your question now?
Yes, ma'am. Sir, many times it happens if we are happy, we spread happiness, and if not, then we disturb others. How to have a stable approach? What should we do as a growing kid?
Okay, now you're very small. You're just children. But you have to understand that and even most adults struggle with this aspect in their lives. Many times it would have happened with you as well. When your father is in a bad mood, you don't want to go in front of him, right? Or your mother is in a bad mood, you try and stay away. You can sense that. होता है ऐसा सबके साथ
Yes,
होता है ना
sir.
पता लग जाता है दूर से ही कि आज नजदीक ना जाओ तो सेहत अच्छी रहेगी right so 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 it's not just with you children, it is the same with all of us as adults too, right? Now learning to handle emotions is easier said than done, right? In this process of growing up, when you begin to understand what causes your frustrations and whether those issues are trivial, that could be one small basic step towards understanding this and maintaining your own peace of mind. A little thought on what today has caused this bad mood of mine, right? Was it perhaps something trivial, or was it an issue uh, under which the heavens are going to fall? Right? Can I live with it? Can I move on with it? Beginning to understand this small. Many times we keep this, we like a whirlwind. We keep struggling with that emotion without feeling helpless in our ability to apply our mind to understand the root cause of it. We just keep stuck in that whirlpool. हम उसके बाहर निकल करके सोच नहीं पाते कई बार कि ऐसा क्या हुआ था कि जिसकी वजह से मेरा मूड इतना खराब है. Why am I sulking? Why am I shouting at others? Why am I, picking up reasons to fight? And whether that reason is trivial, if you understand that it is trivial, it will be easier for you to accept and overcome it. The other thing that I think helps is when you find that pent up frustration and immediate outburst and of emotion, one good thing to do is get physically active. Run, take out your cycle and maybe spend half an hour cycling, do some exercise, maybe spend some time on something that you like a hobby. Okay, so allow that time to steep away that pent up emotion, and mostly you will settle down. So these are usually temporary phases, they're not going to last a lifetime. So do not worry about it. These are phases. All of us undergo this. Heavens aren't going to fall. Tell yourself this. Heavens aren't going to fall. If you've gone to a mall, you wanted a shoe and your mother doesn't let you have it, heavens are not going to fall. Okay. Maybe your other friend has got new shoes and that is what is compelling you to, compete. But you need to understand, do I really need a new pair of shoes? Or is it just because I've seen somebody else have it. So when you understand it's just because somebody else have it, maybe you will be mature enough to understand perhaps that it is really not that critical for your survival or for your being, that it shouldn't have such a play upon your happiness. So let go of it. Gradually, you'll also get it, right? So focus on the triviality of it, and if you can understand the triviality of it, you will find yourself growing up as a much more stable person, right?
Completely concur with your thoughts, sir.
Right.
As we know, a country can move ahead by building robust infrastructure and making advancements in industrialization. But the role of socio-economic activities and campaigns run by the social society cannot be undermined. The government, NGOs, and other kinds of social organizations play a huge role in the designing and execution of socio-economic growth plans that aim to uplift the economically backward margins of the society. With the help of insightful study and ground research, NGOs can help the underprivileged citizens of India move ahead by getting an easy access to educational institutions, employment opportunities, and other kinds of essential services. So these kids are very curious to know about Smile Foundation. Let's take up the question from Aseespreet.
So, how do the Smile Foundation help the people of slum areas in the term of medical, education, and nutrition?
Okay. Uh, See, Smile Foundation is a large organization which has a spread over 25 states, and our work reaches out to more than 2,000 villages. And the bulk of our work is centered around children, underprivileged children, their education, their healthcare. But of course, other than children, we are also active in um, several other aspects, including women empowerment and upliftment programs, disaster relief, and such things. With children, we Smile Foundation sets up what we term as mission education centers. These are small centers which impart formal or informal education, as the case may be in various locations. So here, the children, underprivileged children, come to these centers. They are given instruction. If they are going to a school, we help them with our instructors rather help them with their studies, with their homework, with their preparation for exams and things like that. And the whole idea is for such children who are already going to some school, our work is centered around our desire to make sure that they do not drop out. With the help that they receive, we certainly see the dropout rates coming down, and of course, their education improving in terms of quality. And for children, those who are not going to school, of course, it is easy to understand that basic instruction and basic literacy is what is created here. We also, in these centers, many of these centers offer nutritional support. Wherever we are able to, we offer nutritional support in terms of um, rations and food supplies, maybe fruits and things like that. During the pandemic, Smile Foundation reached out to um, with support for more than 20 million uh, meals across the country. This was a campaign that went on for a good 5 months, and even now, still continuing in some places, where with the support of our partners, we are trying to provide dry rations to people who need it, who are the most vulnerable and need it the most. You also wanted to know about the healthcare intervention that we have. We have a project that is known as, about the mission education centers. We have a good almost 200 centers spread across the country where these children get instruction. The healthcare intervention is known as Smile on Wheels. So these are mobile units. Uh, these are like vans that go about from place to place, and they have the vans are equipped with medicine supplies. They have a doctor, a nurse on duty there, and some basic tests that are possible to be done on the spot. They also carry equipment for that. So the idea is to provide doorstep service free of cost to people who are otherwise perhaps not so serious about their health. So perhaps when they get it at their doorstep, they're motivated to avail the services. B, those who do not have the resources to actually go to a doctor. See, when we take these services to their doorstep, they do not have to miss out on their wages. They do not have to spend money on traveling to the nearby city or wherever they live, wherever the nearest healthcare facility is, and lose their wages for the day because they have to travel, they have to spend time there. So this is about our healthcare intervention. Every year, these healthcare vans. We have over 40 of these vans operating in the country right now. They reach out to more than 6.5 lakh patients every year. And it's one of a very, very successful model that we have. And during the pandemic, these vans have provided stellar services. They have even, during the pandemic days, uh, these teams were providing, because the normal operations couldn't be undertaken because of the precautions and the government regulations and all that. So we were providing telecounseling services, telemedicine services. So where we have a database of all the patients. The patients had the numbers which they could use to call and speak to the doctor and about the issues, and perhaps the doctor could in turn give the required instructions. So this is what Smile Foundation does in education, healthcare, and in the field of nutrition.
Organizations working for the well being of our society are just doing such an amazing job without even expecting any other thing in its return. To be really honest, not everyone could do that.
A lot of this good, Mallika, happens because a lot of people join hands. You know, Smile Foundation reaches out to these lakhs of children and their families every year. It is possible for us because a lot of our corporate partners provide us with their unstinted support and their resources. Thousands and lakhs of individuals join hands with us. Teams of volunteers and dedicated employees who are devoted to the task at hand help to make it possible. It is the job of an NGO, see, there are in a society there are always people who can help and people who need help. It's the job of an NGO to dig that channel wherein help can flow from those who can to those who need it. And that is what we try and do as diligently as possible and as dedicatedly as possible. So it is this, the entire society helps to make it possible. It's not just the effort of one organization or one individual. Everybody comes together, and we are very grateful for the support of our patrons, our corporate partners, our volunteers who've put in, for the past almost 2 decades now, who've been with us and supported these efforts of Smile Foundation.
Yes. Let's take up the next question from Guntaas.
Sir, what is the difference between empathy, compassion, and sympathy?
Okay. You'll need to understand this because there is a very fine line, it's almost blurred between all of these three. See, sympathy is basically a sense of pity. You see something, it disturbs your heart a little bit, and that's all, right? You feel pity. Empathy is a deeper understanding of this of it is almost like you are able to put yourself in that person's shoes and understand the situation better from that person's perspective. So the difference is in the level of understanding. One is out of a tinge of emotion. Empathy is about, yes, there is emotion, there could be emotion involved, but it is also about a deeper understanding from the person's perspective in the environment in which he is. And compassion is something that further leads to action out of that understanding. Okay, so yes, it begins with a tinge of emotion, but as you scale the levels, so it is like level, right? Sympathy, empathy, and compassion. This is how I see it. So compassion would be where your actual understanding leads you to act. Okay, were you able to grasp a little bit of what I'm trying to say? These are very, very fine lines between these three. A lot of people are not able to make that differentiation.
Certainly, you do not need to have experienced exactly the same events as the person who is suffering, but you do need to have the ability to really imagine how they must be feeling in their situation.
Yeah,
Let,
you're right. Very rightly said, Mallika.
let's take up the next question from Milan.
Sir, what kind of challenges you and your team face related to education and healthcare?
Okay, so when our teams or when these projects are set up, whether these are mission education centers or Smile on Wheels, our healthcare delivery systems, or we have a project called Swabhiman, which works on women and girl child upliftment and empowerment. Any of the be it any of these projects, uh, one of the most important challenges to address is to develop an awareness amongst the community that we have come to help. Many times, maybe because of their education levels, maybe because of their economic status, it is not so easy to understand for them to understand that there exists a need for the child to go to a school. Maybe the child works with his parents as a child labor. So we set up a mission education center nearby. Our volunteers and our counselors, our instructors, our teams would go around those places trying to educate people and motivate them to send their children to the center. The parents may have a misplaced, maybe not misplaced, but a compelling need for that, for those 50 rupees that a child could possibly be earning during that time. And they may not be inclined to send the child to the center, right? So that counseling helps to develop an understanding for them about the need and the benefits that their own child is going to draw in the future. So that it is a difficult task and it requires a lot of perseverance, a lot of patience, but that is how it has to be done. Then the other challenge would be resources. Of course, we all want good things to happen, but for good things to happen, you will need a lot of resources. Money is required to set up those centers or pay the salaries or hire staff and all that kind of thing. Give books to the children who are going to come there or stationery, whatever. Similarly for healthcare, supplies of medicines or tests and vans and all those. So resources are very important. Then again, very important aspect is people, that devoted, dedicated manpower, that motivated manpower who's actually going to make it run. Projects successful projects will always have very, very devoted and dedicated, capable people who are behind it. Otherwise, projects cannot succeed. So these are some of the aspects of the challenges that are there in the social development sector, or whatever in general you're trying to do.
It's important to have a proactive support system that works to improve the lives of millions of innocent children who have been struggling to lead a normal life.
So, these kids here, I'd like you all to understand, we've spoken at length about the underprivileged children today. Uh, the next time, you want to crib with your parents, about that one pizza that you want to have in the evening, and perhaps your mother is not letting you order it, and you throw a tantrum, would you be able to recognize that perhaps, the cost of that one pizza is more than the cost of an entire month's ration, perhaps, for some child somewhere in our own country, right? And you have thousands of things given to you on a platter, which probably you never asked for it, and therefore perhaps you may not be appreciating today. But give it a thought. You are coming to one of the best schools in the city. You have a fine place to go back, what you call as your home. You have warm, nutritious meal waiting for you, served for you without, ever having given a thought to it. But there are millions of children who may not be feeling very secure about where their next meal is going to come from. So, as you understand the challenges of the underprivileged, it does not make sense till you also begin to appreciate what you have, right? And be thankful for it. Carry a sense of gratitude for your parents, maybe to God, those blessings that you've received. You've not done anything to earn it, right? Have you? आज आपको जो अच्छा खाना मिलता है, लाखों बच्चे उसके लिए काम करते हैं, सुबह से लेकर शाम तक काम करते हैं, ढाबों में काम करते हैं, ब्रिक किल्स में काम करते हैं, फैक्ट्रियों में काम करते हैं, खेतों में काम करते हैं। आपको और फिर उन्हें खाना ढंग से मिल पाता है या नहीं मिल पाता है, कई बार वो भी एक क्वेश्चन मार्क है। लेकिन आपने तो कभी काम नहीं किया ना। So all the blessings that you do get without having earned it is just a blessing. That's what it is. Right? So learn to be grateful. Similarly, those children have not committed any crime. To be bereft of some of the basic needs for human survival, which is nutrition and healthcare. Let's put education a little backstage right now. But nutrition and healthcare, we need it for our survival, immediate survival. And those children have to struggle for that as well. So the next time you wish to throw a tantrum, give this thing a thought, about the thousands of privileges that you have, which are just a dream for millions others. Can't learn to count your blessings. That is how you grow up to be a satisfied adult. That is how you grow up, learn to become happier with your own life instead of cribbing with for that something that you may not have. Instead, you could also focus on the thousand things that you have, which are just a dream for so many others. And perhaps you would like to share out of the goodness of your heart some of what you have as you grow up and do some good for the people who are not so fortunate.
I agree, sir. Let's take up the last question from Saanvi.
Sir, how did Smart Foundation work during this pandemic to help underprivileged children?
Okay, during one of my questions, I think I already answered this, Sanvi, and you would have gotten your answer. During the pandemic days, Smile did 22 odd states with dry ration distribution, right? I told you we distributed about 20 million meals in terms of dry ration, which was rice and pulses, oils, and basic things, which would help sustain a family. So we were 1 month ration kits that we were distributing for a family of five. So that was how this was designed. And 20 million meals in all have already been distributed. The number might have gone up since I last tracked it. Other than this, I also spoke about telemedicine support for patients, those who were already in contact with our healthcare teams. So telemedicine support was organized for them, and they could call up our doctors with their problems, and whatever was possible to be advised was advised for their health. We've tried through our mission education centers also, wherever possible, to create those groups wherever smartphones were available with children, and as many of them, uh, had access to something like that. So through the digital medium, uh, some semblance of instruction was also catered to. These are some of the things that we did during specific to the pandemic.
I actually just keep wondering every now and then that how can these NGOs just work unconditionally as well as selflessly? But all the work that its members are just doing for the welfare of a society is actually appreciable as well as thanksgiving. There is a famous saying, you have not lived today until you have done something for someone who can never repay you. We can conclude by stating the fact that potential purpose of our existence is well and truly fulfilled if we manage to help others with our selfless attitude and desire to help. This is indeed the most beautiful deed which comes naturally, and you get to feel lucky if you are the one who is solely responsible in bringing a smile in one's face. I'm sure this session could be of real help. With this, I convey my thanks to Mr. Vineet Marwaha, our viewers, as well as the panelists for making this session quite interactive. So, viewers, see you soon with another episode of Talking Insights. Till then, stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Mallika. Thank you, all the panelists. And thanks also